semester of nursing school, and I was taking critical care, pediatrics, and some other classes. But for this video, I'm just going to focus on critical care because how I study for critical care is kind of how I study for all my classes last semester. And I'm going to try to attempt to do a voiceover and see if it works because I feel like that's the best way to explain how I studied. So, wish me luck. Alright, so this is the first page of my trauma notes for critical care, and I, as you can tell, wrote all over it, and some things I repeated because I feel like when you write something over and over again, it really helps you learn it better. But honestly, that's just me. You kind of have to know what kind of learner you are. I'm definitely a hands-on kind of learner, so that really helps. And I'm a visual learner as well. And so for tips for this was I would print these notes off the night before lecture, and if I had a lot of time, I would go through the book and write down information that maybe was missing from the notes or helped clarify something I didn't quite understand from the notes. And when I went to lecture, I was able to comprehend better some of the more complicated concepts to understand, such as, well, if I'm talking about trauma, all the facial trauma, like all the fractures and stuff, at least I had a basic knowledge of what they were. I may not have memorized them at the point being at lecture because I didn't really study the notes, but I am familiar with the words Lefort 1, Lefort 2, Lefort 3, and all that stuff, so that helps you with learning it. So I feel like that's honestly probably the most helpful tip I could give you guys is just come to lecture prepared, and when you don't understand something, ask questions. Luckily, my teacher records her lecture, so if I didn't get something, I could always go back and listen to her lecture, and sometimes the second or third or fourth time you hear something, it starts to make more sense than the first time. And that's why I said you should become familiar with the topic, because the more times you hear it, the better chances you'll remember it and understand it and all that. So, honestly, that's all I did. I didn't read the chapter in depth. I didn't read every word on the page. I literally stuck to her notes. I came to lecture prepared. When she asked questions, I was able to answer the questions to the best of my ability, and that really helped reiterate the information and the material for me. Granted, I love this material. This is just what I want to do in my nursing career, so maybe it was a little bit easier for me, but I feel like if you come to lecture prepared, you're able to answer her questions in class, and you leave lecture, and if you have time, read the book. I didn't read the book just because I didn't have time. Now, just to clarify, my instructor did an absolute wonderful job in teaching us the material, and that is why I felt like I didn't really need to pick up the book and read, because her notes were literally a skeleton form of the book that we used for this class. Sometimes I would pick up the book to read content that maybe I just wasn't quite understanding. Maybe she didn't provide enough information for me in her notes, and I wanted to learn more about it. But for test purposes and NCLEX purposes, I feel like I got all the material that I needed just from her notes. Now, that's obviously going to differ from teacher to teacher to teacher. So if you feel like your teacher isn't doing a good job explaining it to you, then I would read the book. The book is actually really wonderful to read. I enjoy reading it. I just did not have time to read it for pleasure or anything. But maybe when I start studying for the NCLEX, I'll go back and crack it open because it's a really nice book to read. So those are my studying tips for my last semester. I did this for all my classes, and it seemed to work for me, and I hope that it works for you. Again, don't if it's not working, adapt and change it to help suit you better as a learner. Everyone learns differently, and I'm not saying that the way I study is going to work for everybody. So adapt, make changes. If you see something that's not working, change it. So I hope you guys have a great semester, and I hope that you enjoyed my tips, and I hope it helps you out on your next exams.